Hello and welcome to Westworld Chat. We had the final episode of season 3. And before I go on, before I say anything, I just want to say it's been a pleasure talking with you two over the last 9 weeks. It's been 9 weeks because we did a pre-thing. I've enjoyed it. I've learned stuff, and it's been a great time chatting with you guys. I figured I'd do it at the beginning instead of the end. But anyway, on to the episode.
I'll do my thing at the end. my thing.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll ask, what did we think of the season finale of Westworld?
I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it did a good job in terms of balancing the action and also tying up loose ends. And I joke about this a lot about Lisa Joy and Chris Nolan's brother going to visit Damon Lindelof in between season 2 and season 3. But there were bits and pieces of the way that they tied this up that did veer in that direction of the way that Lindelof handles his stuff. So I give them high marks on how well they did this season in its entirety, and definitely in contrast to season 2. So I'm satisfied.
I'm satisfied as well. I enjoyed it as well. I always come with a but this or that, and we'll get into that. But overall, I enjoyed it. I'm glad that it was 8 episodes. I'm glad that a lot of I have a thing where I say, this will rise in my estimation if we don't see Evan Rachel Wood again.
Mm-hmm.
I think we see her again.
I think we see her again, but if they actually did the thing they showed and killed Deloris,
mm-hmm.
I would think that would be great. Like, in my mind, that would be the best thing.
So if Deloris is dead, you believe that would be good?
I believe that would be good. Just because. I love the ending. You guys got the post-credit, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For people in the chat, if you didn't watch after the credits, stop what you're doing here and go watch after the credits.
That the post credit shot should be just called episode 9 because it just felt like it was going on forever. It was fantastic.
I just saw the chat. Hi, Aaron. That's my brother. Whole family this season.
Yeah.
Kill Deloris.
Kill Deloris.
Said.
Yeah.
I'm with you in that, like in terms of it gives it more gravity and it also allows the story to expand further. Because it's they kind of even hinted at the fact that within the show that you've died so many times or this is going to be your last death and
right.
That type of thing. It's like, and as is in our preview episode, like what was so disappointing about season 2 was just like they just you didn't feel anything about all of these hosts dying because they could just be rebuilt, right? So that the death needs to mean something, and the Dolores's prediction that she wouldn't make it needs to mean something, and this whole notion of she came with she had 2 views of how she would handle this, and then she settled on one of them. But I think regardless of which view or strategy she was going to pursue, she knew that she probably wouldn't make it. And that gives that character and that story arc more gravitas. So I'm with you, Ethan. 110%.
Right. Yeah, so if it turns out just to be a Ford situation, I could more understand that, where she would pop in for something. But yeah, they really, really, put their money down on she's dead. So I would love to see that. Now Jim says, but the Hale version lives. But I see that, but I feel like the Hale version is not Deloris
anymore. No,
almost at all. Like, you can't even reference the two. Like, you can't even compare the two.
They're even insinuating that the Hale version is closer to Hale.
Yeah,
that's the way they're painting her, right?
And she didn't repair her was it her left arm?
Yeah, she wants to
she wants to remember.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't want to skip. I guess we're skipping around. My favorite to show how much I did like it. Because I was deciding whether to pick some nits or not. But I love the Bernard resolution, the Arnold, Charlie with, I call her Zoe because I was such a big fan of Serenity.
Right.
Right. And like when he's starting to walk in, I said to myself, "Oh my God, it's going to be Zoe. It's going to be Zoe." She's like, "What are you talking about?" She doesn't even remember she was in the show.
Yeah. Ethan, I'm with you. Sure that
she's aged a lot since Firefly.
Well, a lot of that's makeup too.
A lot of it's makeup. She's much older than
But the thing about it was, and I was thinking about you, Ethan, when that scene started. I was like, okay, now we're gonna get the Jeffrey Wright scene for the season, because it's like we talked about like how he was used sparingly,
right?
And they gave him that scene, and to me, it's like maybe it's the stage of life that I'm in now and the amount of TV that I've watched. Those types of scenes that tend to be obviously in the emotional side, those carry so much more weight. Like when you have like a really good actor doing those and then doing almost nothing else for the rest of the season, that's totally fine. As long as you got that moment, because it lets them act to their highest level, and it lets us viewers enjoy it.
Well, you said the key is having a really good actor, because sometimes you have a scene where it's going on, you have an actor who's maybe just starting out or just doesn't have the chops to pull it off, but Jeffrey Wright is such an amazing presence on the screen that he carries it. So
he does it, and we again, like Ethan said, like he turned to his wife and was like, had to remind her that like Zoe was a character in season 1 in those video chats that he had to, and I have to go back and watch that again because it was a bit strange, right?
And they never show a resolution with him with his wife. They just show Deloris, him telling Deloris, these violent delights have violent ends.
Right.
In the gunshot.
And I love the fact that they went back to that and whole thread from season 1 in terms of Charlie, how that impacted his life, obviously impacted Arnold's life, and then carried through to Bernard in the subconscious. And obviously, like we've said so many times, Jeffrey Wright is an amazing actor, and you can see how he lets that moment overcome him, and how the host, Bernard, just breaks down in tears.
Right.
But also, speaking of actors, like you have to in the second season, towards the end of the second season, you're still like, oh, Anthony Hopkins is here, move bitch, get out the way, all the time, 9 times out of 10, I'm watching this Michael Jordan documentary. I'm like, you're giving the ball to Anthony Hopkins. Sports analogy, you know what I mean? Like all the time. So now you have this, and who fills that void? And you have the man there to do it. You have Jeffrey Wright. So it was. I didn't know I wanted it and needed it, but they gave it to me, and I loved it.
Yeah, I think like when we heard the nurse say, "I think this is one of her better days," we knew it was coming.
Right.
And that's the moment where like, oh, this is a really nice added bonus.
And it's like a nice gift gesture that Deloris is doing for Arnold now before her end is coming, and he's when you take that whole thing together, the fact that like she understands the importance of that to him, right? Regardless of their relationship. And then she entrusts basically the future of the entire species, we'll call it, to him. Yeah.
The entire host species.
The host species to him. It is that's what made actually this episode so good in that sense, that they really did turn a lot of things back on their head. And even, it almost felt like a retcon, but it's so refreshing this day and age where no one admits that they're ever wrong. We're literally seconds after Bernard talks about, how she's basically looking for the end of humanity, right? She's coming about the end of humanity. And then he goes, I might have misjudged her, right?
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah. we could move on from that scene. I just, it was the scene of the episode for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you couple it with what we just talked about with it, and with, I don't want to get too deep into post-credit yet.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much leading into, I have so many questions about the post-credit. Like the very last thing you see.
Yep.
Well,
would you say, Ethan, let me ask you this. Would you say that scene of Bernard talking to Zoe, that was very Lindeloffian?
That was like, that's a constant moment on a better show. Like, not a better show, but a better, a show with a higher budget, and who says that one scene for the whole season. You know what I mean? And it's a tie between that. What's the emotional anchor? It's that scene with Zoe and Bernard, and it's also, Deloris admitting that, I guess she chooses to see the beauty. That also almost made a lump happen when she's like, I choose to see the beauty in this world. And that's why I'm saying it only matters if she doesn't come back.
When she said it was her last, those memories she saved for last.
Where she's talking to Maeve in the simulation, right?
Yeah.
You see, this is the thing about it, and this goes into bigger issue, and I feel like they set season 3 up to be this major conflict between Deloris and Maeve, right? Yeah. And they almost set it up in such a way that it was a continuation of something that was brewing in the prior 2 seasons. But there was only really one interaction that we had seen up until this episode between Maeve and Deloris, and it was like that time where they crossed paths, like in episode 3 or 4 in season 2, and they almost get into a fight. Okay,
right.
But it's just kind of like, Maeve is kind of like, look, we got to do our thing, you do your thing, okay? This just kind of goes separate. And Maeve kind of hints at that in the sense when she's talking about Deloris. I think she might have been talking to Aaron Paul about this, where she said that we always were in different storylines.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, so that's actually pretty good retcon. But the thing was, you could see the scene where they show them both standing in their Westworld garb there talking, and then also the scene where Deloris sees Maeve with her daughter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is like, that is like the definition of retcon, right? In the sense that they do have they have the liberty to do that because they can write as much history as they want, because the park was open for 30 years. But it does like kind of backfill stuff to make that sort of tension and the resolution of the tension work. And that's why it felt a bit artificial to me compared to the Bernard and Zoe scene, which really was a resolution to something that's been consistent since season 1.
Right.
I didn't have a problem with her seeing her, only because I know that Deloris went out on those painting things every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You saw her interact with people in the first season. You saw her interact with families as a robot in the park in the first season, random people like by a pond.
Yeah.
Where I had any issue is I felt like these fights between Maeve and Deloris were an audience checkbox.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had to do, and they said, well, they have to meet, so they're going to meet 2 episodes in a row, and the fight's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, the fight was awesome. I said it before.
Well, you had because Aaron in the chat says he said we all misjudged her as talking about Deloris.
Mm-hmm.
Now, last week when she leaves, Caleb says, "Okay, I may not come back, or this may be the end of me," and they're communicating with. There was a gentler, kinder Deloris. There was a different Deloris, and it's almost like we did misjudge her, right? So she's a different. I mean, she let Maeve live when she had her fist up like this, and she backed off because I don't know.
She saw her and her daughter at a pond.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So she had to go. Okay, she's got a daughter. I can't kill her. Yeah. But why did it take Maeve so long to realize that she should join Deloris?
I don't know. It did.
I mean, it was a great scene, like we said before, where they're both talking, back at the park back in the day, wearing their old garb and all that other stuff. It was a great scene. It's just like you wish Maeve would have said, "All right, okay, I believe you."
And it was power of Evan Rachel Wood's acting too in there that made me slightly emotional about it, because she uses that line. It's almost like I am Iron Man. It's almost like a power of something you've been watching for so many years, and regardless if it's a robot or a man in a Iron Man suit, it's just like because you have that history there, you're like, oh, yeah. So.
But this is where the season 3 did veer off a bit. Here is the one thing that we always assumed with Deloris was that there was a bit of schizophrenia there in terms of like Deloris versus Wyatt.
Right. And
I guess in season 2, it seemed like the Wyatt was basically dominant. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw most of season 3 in terms of like the calculated. But I guess there was some sort of a synthesis. This is where going back and watching season 3 before season 4 begins will inform me better, because you see the whole picture within a few hours, back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
But it does seem like they might have veered off a little bit from that whole notion of the two different personalities, right? That it's more of a continuum now, right? That we see, like the first thing that you said when we watched season 1, episode 1 of the season, Jack, was you said one thing we can all agree on right now is that Deloris is a BA.
Right.
Okay, because this first scene was her killing that German guy in this pool, right? Which was a continuation of Wyatt from season 2, right?
Yeah, she's definitely the female Rambo.
There was definitely my note in that was that was the second time someone got Benekeyed this season when Caleb threw that guy in his head.
His neck snap?
Sirach's goon head got snapped. That was the second. I really like the fact that her ectoskeleton made her stronger against Maeve.
Right.
That was cool. I was really hoping that she wouldn't get caught at that point, but she did. What was it? A sword that she went to slash her with?
Yeah, she put her arm in, it stuck in, and Maeve couldn't get the sword back out.
Yeah,
right. Because the skeletons in the park are different, right?
I don't think. Well, the older ectoskeletons are those black ones, like you saw, like this Deloris had when he put the ball in her face, which was really cool. But no, they make them now out of milk and blood or whatever.
Right.
And William even said either this season or last season or in the first season that these are the improvements. I don't like the improvements. The improvements make you give you a lot of meat on your bones and everything, but they make you less. I forgot what he said, but yeah, there's different types of hosts. Older ones that have the skeleton body, and the newer ones have more tissue and stuff like that.
So, Jack, I think it was on your other show, you had the crackpot theory that Sirach's brother was actually controlling Sirach. Now, what we did get confirmation of was that Rehoboam was controlling Sirach, right?
Right.
Okay, but it's not clear if his brother was controlling Rehoboam, right?
Yeah, we don't know.
I mean, they did mention some sort of a link there, right?
Yes.
There seemed like there was some sort of connection still between the brother Rehoboam and Sirach.
Right, because he had Maeve started picking up on what was being said to him.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it seems like it's almost like we talked about bicameral mind. It's almost like this was a situation where the machine was controlling the human mind, right?
Right.
Totally.
So we can't actually, if we went back and watched the whole season, we wouldn't be able to distinguish what point was Sirach talking versus Rehoboam.
Yeah, I don't think we can.
I think they made it pretty clear that Sirach was never talking.
Yeah, but it was his brother controlling him.
Oh, well, I don't know. When they left that dangling thread there with all the people in the cryo,
right,
in the cryo beds, they didn't touch that at all.
I think they might have referred to it, but not directly. At one point, Tom Zarok talks about how you let all the outliers out. He says something to that extent, but it's unclear if he was talking about all the people there in Sonora,
Right.
or if he was talking figuratively about all the people riding in the street. So
There was a lot more people this time.
Yeah, it was. There was chaos.
There was chaos. Yeah. Lots of maze graffiti.
Yes.
There was maze graffiti.
So maybe people were released because there was a lot more people in the streets.
I guess.
I'm reading what Brad wrote in this.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
Brad Gibb from Australia. I wonder if he's one of the Bee Gees.
Well, speaking of Australia, we should talk about Stubbs, right? Isn't he Australian, the actor?
Yeah. So is Stubbs still sitting in the bathtub?
I mean, yeah, like what's the okay, so here we go. Let's do this for a second. Okay, so first of all, one of my things is why do they always end up at these shitty hotels? First of all. It's like they're always cheaper. In a horrible hotel.
Well, only place that takes cash.
Well,
so they're not traced.
This hotel obviously lasted through the apocalypse. They happened to pick the one that was able to last through the apocalypse. And like, does he turn around?
Maybe it was a hotel that was already closed.
I thought there was cars there and stuff.
Were there cars there? Okay, I was just throwing it out there.
But it's probably far enough away from the city center.
Yeah. But
so
at some point, no one ever went in that room and saw a dude sitting there with the visor on playing the game from Star Trek.
Maybe he paid for the room in advance.
That film that was on top of him, I mean, it's dust, but we're not sure if it's regular dust or some sort of nuclear dust, right?
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Like Ethan, I got a total Fallout vibe.
Well, it's definitely dust. There was no plan. Why was the plan with Stubbs just ice sit in? Like it was
to slow the bleeding down, right?
But then, like Bernard seemed like he knew he was going away for a while. Building a sublime army.
But I don't think he knew how long he would be in there, right? I mean, think about that visor that he put on, which looked like the thing that they had in, what was it called, the Forge or the Vault? I forget. The Forge, right?
I don't remember if it was one of those.
It looked similar from a technological standpoint, where he and Deloris go into the library and they talk to Delos' son, who's the AI, right?
Right.
It was the same thing that he put on, right?
Okay.
And that time they were only in there for like a few hours, right?
Right.
So you would assume that he's probably in there only for a few hours, but it looks like he was probably in there for a few decades.
He was there for a while.
Yeah.
But he like literally said to Stubbs, "You've been a good friend." He gave him a real goodbye.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think he had any intentions, and because he wouldn't have waited that long if he was going to try and save Stubbs, right?
I don't know. It seemed very much hang out here in this ice, and I'll be back. Maybe never.
And you had the cheap, and you had cheap alcohol, so it's like, come on.
Yeah. What, you're gonna just leave me in the tub, and this is this third shelf stuff you're giving me. This is, yeah.
Maybe, I mean, that was kind of the last Waka Waka moment of the buddy cops subplot.
Yeah, right.
So Stubbs is gone. Deloris is gone.
I hope so. And by the way, no, I say it for the same reason as you said, Ethan. Like, I actually like Bernard said, we might have misjudged her, right?
They led us to misjudge her, but yeah.
And it's like, no kidding, Bernard, we misjudged her. You're the one who told us last week to think the worst of her. I mean,
yeah, totally.
But the point is that, like, it's, you respect shows more when they, like, if they feel like a character his story arc has reached its end,
right?
It allows the world to grow. I mean, as long as the character's name isn't Ed Harris, I'm fine with it.
Well, like you said, the way they were ending her character. I mean, it's a great send off.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll fall in line. I'm okay if she is dead.
Yeah, but the question of is he going to wake up and see Stubbs there? I mean,
He's still back on the motel scene, huh?
I mean, I'm stuck on it because there's so much. Are we going to come back there? Or
there's not going to be any ice, I would think.
Well, the ice is going to be gone. That's for sure.
I don't think we come back there. I think we actually see what he sees. If we're getting into like very, very vague predictions for season 4, I mean, one of the things that I think is the safe prediction is that we actually see what happens in the Sublime. Okay, and it's gonna be more than just like a big empty green field with random hosts walking around touching the grass.
There's gonna be horrible things at Sublime.
Exactly. Like there's
terrible things.
There's gonna be like all sorts of weird digital mutations that have taken place.
There's gonna be Sigourney Weaver on a table saying "Kill me, kill me." It's gonna be terrible.
Like that, yeah. And of course, the other thing is you can predict that. I mean, what they insinuated was that Charlotte is just building a bunch of hosts to wreak havoc in the real world.
It did seem like that, yes.
Yeah, she's growing the army now. Ed Harris is not dead.
Ed Harris is forever.
But William is dead. Yeah.
William is dead, but Ed Harris is still around.
Right. So we're okay with that.
Yeah.
What kind of jerk goes in there with one gun?
He only has one hand,
We were saying before you joined us, he killed the security guard. I thought he was going to be I thought he was a good guy now.
He's saving the world. Well, he thinks he is a good. Well, that's the thing with all bad guys; they think they're good guys, right?
Yeah.
And so he goes in there and it's just like she programmed him. He did exactly what Charlotte wanted him to do.
Right.
I mean, he's basically like a fidgetier, less organized version of Ben Linus, right? He's the good guy, and he just starts shooting up random people,
I could hear you laugh, Eckhart. I could hear you laugh in the scene where he's in the hotel, and he's like, "Those are just pissants mooning and yelling."
I was like, when I saw that, where he's basically like, he's just such a jerk to everybody at this point in time. Like the guy who came up is probably like his personal attorney or like his financial advisor, something like that. Like he's just like, I don't give a rat's ass what's going on out there. Get me a plane and get me a gun.
Give me my cash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check.
What is it?
Well, we thought you were dead.
It's frozen. Yeah, thought.
Yeah. And it's like that guy is used to dealing like with the philanthropist Ed Harris, who's like, all right, take your time, I can wait, it's no problem. I realize there are more troubling issues out there, but no, he's like, those are just a bunch of piss ants. Like that scene, they didn't need it. Like they could have shown Ed Harris running into the California hinterlands, like, and then they could have just shown him showing up right in the credits. I mean, I would have been totally cool with that. But like the fact that they had him sitting there in the empty hotel lobby, just drinking, like, what did he say? It was like a $20,000 glass of whiskey.
Yeah, $20,000 bottle, I think.
The opposite of what Bernard and Stubbs were drinking.
And while everything around him is just
plus he had blood. He had blood all over him.
He was wearing an escaped insane asylum person's jacket with blood all over him and a chainmail glove with missing fingers.
Yeah.
And
it was the greatest scene of the season. That was Ed Harris's scene of the season, not him beating up all of his other versions. Just him sitting there drinking the scotch and telling his worthless financial advisor to get him all his cash,
which obviously he got.
Yeah,
and he bought one gun and he went in that building.
So now who's going to have the cash? I guess the William host, right? Host William?
It's so weird just because, I like how they tied it into like Yul Brynner is like the main, vision of Westworld, the movie. And I think he was in the second one too. And so they carry it along as, his motif, the Man in Black, is badass, the Man in Black coming out of the blackness, to take on William. I don't know if that Man in Black is capable of dressing up. I guess he's capable of dressing up like William the philanthropist.
Or is there another host that's William?
And which will end up in the future with Emily in the season 2 post credit.
So they're gonna have to figure out how to tie that in. I mean, I'll say this: they were insinuating when when William was fighting the Man in Black, that he shares the same thoughts because they're saying the exact same thing.
Right, exactly.
Right. So what's interesting about that is that means that at some point in time they perfected that whole fidelity thing, right?
Right.
Okay. But you could always, and this is the thing that's where Westworld is actually pretty good as a show in the sense that because there's such a big timeline, you can, as I referred to before, you can retcon things, right? Right. Yeah. So we could say that scene at the post-credit scene of season 2, where he's going down the stairs and he's like, he says something like, "Oh, I'm already in the thing, am I not?" Right, where he thinks he's a host. Right. You could say that maybe that was like an Ed Harris host that was being developed somewhere totally different, right? Somewhere off-site or something like that, right? So it's like that could be completely separate from all the Ed Harris that we've seen so far, right?
Yeah,
could be.
So,
yeah,
but I just like the fact that like Charlotte felt it was important, like to let us at the end of season 3 know, hey, guess what? There's more Ed Harris up ahead.
yeah. But I guess we're happy about that, right? We want Ed Harris forever.
I mean, this is the thing, and you said this best, Jack. We don't really know why we like him. We think the actor is great. We like the fact that there's a guy who just does what the hell he wants, and it's just like he's just becoming a worse and worse of a human being,
right?
Or a host. But we just cheer for him even more. I mean,
yeah, we don't want him to die because we love his character.
Yeah.
So, but do we like him now? He's just going to be dark. I mean, this William had.
But maybe he won't, though.
He's working for Charlotte,
But there could be other hosts, Williams, right?
Made by Charlotte.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were saying earlier because how's he going to pull off the? You got Man in Black who's just shoot him up, kill. Where's businessman William?
Yeah, figurehead, CEO William, right?
Right,
chairman of the board. Yeah.
So it's going to have to be someone like that. I don't know if it can be Man in Black William. I don't know.
I don't know. Could be 12-year-old William come back, break people's arms, popping teeth.
Only problem with 12-year-old William, he'll be like 25 when the show comes back. So,
yeah, Westworld 2022. Keep an eye.
All right, so switching gears, I guess. I mean, we obviously don't know. This is open-ended for season 4, but they left it left the door pretty wide open for Aaron Paul to come back.
Oh yeah.
I would think he comes back. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's if he wants to, right?
We need the Aaron Paul cry. So
we got that last week. We got the big one last week. We got the good guy stopping host rape this week.
Yeah.
You know what else we got this week? And this was really subtle, where he's walking towards Insight, and the intercom thing is telling him that he's got like 4 hostiles.
Right.
Right before he gets up to shoot, he does this. This is what little I can't do it right now because it's like backwards with the screen. But he does this lip bite like right before he concentrates to pop up and shoot. By the way, I love the fact that they explained that flashback with the army training.
Right.
Right. Because we all were kind of like, we were all like, okay, we got most of the flashbacks last week, but then we're like, what about that one about like the military one with the parade? Like, is that going to be, I think I even said it in the chat, like, is that like another Deloris shoots up the town moment? Is that another Wyatt moment? Right.
Right.
But they did a great job of filling in the rest of his character with that story.
Yeah, and like giving an origin of why, she the first time she chose him and how far that goes back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because he was compassionate. He wasn't
That's where I think these guys did a really good job with season 3, in the sense that like they could have revealed that any point in time in the season. But they had enough discipline to hold off to the end to realize that would have much more impact, like from waiting and having that resolution there. So that
yeah. I didn't mean to step on you. Go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
Well, it's like, and it's like the way she even introduced that scene. She said something like, I'm not sure if she said it or Maeve said it, something about Deloris chose you because you had the ability to choose, right?
right.
And it's like, okay, when you hear that term, you think that's like, okay, this is somebody who's got confidence and intelligence, right? But I think what was left off from that description is it's almost like you had the ability to make a choice of what was right and what was wrong. Right. In the sense that at that moment, like, I'm sure there were other people like that Deloris saw that were good too, but for whatever reason, that moment stuck with Deloris, and the fact that like he had the ability, he had the option to do what all the other sleazebag dudes did. Right.
Right. Well, like the guy said, he goes, why can't we be like the rich guys that come in this park and do this all the time? Yeah. And then Caleb stood up and said, no, we're not like the rich guys.
See, the only thing that was missing from that scene is that he really should have delivered it as Pinkman, like crying and gritted teeth, because we're not like the other rich guys.
But then you have Deloris looking at him going,
because everyone who goes to Westworld is such an a-hole.
Yeah.
Every single person that goes there. Like, she only met 2. The first one was young William.
Yeah.
And she changed his mind on that one.
Yeah.
And then, Caleb.
That is an interesting parallel, because Jack, I bought into your crackpot theory that somehow William and Caleb are related. And to borrow a phrase from a wise crackpot theorist, not yet disproven, right?
Nope.
Not yet disproven.
Right?
Yep.
So, but the point is, it's like...
I can hang on with that theory for at least another 3 years.
That they... they did a good job of tying that back to season 1, where most of what we see of, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, William, is that he's actually seems like a pretty nice guy, right?
Right.
And then something in him just snaps. And then we find out later, it's like, no, he was always that bad guy, right?
He was 12 years old, right?
That was probably one of the best scenes I thought of the season. Mm-hmm. When again, we said it before, where you're thinking that his dad is this alcoholic, beats him, all this different stuff, and it turns out his dad's an alcoholic because he's afraid of him.
Yep.
Right.
So William has always been bad. And it's like, because I think we always wondered what made William go bad. What made young William was such a good guy. I mean, who's the guy he would go down there with? What was his name?
Logan.
Yeah. Logan, we always thought was the jerk, and he was, but we always thought, oh, here William, he has morals. He's a good guy. He loves Deloris. What happened? Well, he just is a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Logan was just a pleasure seeker.
Right.
In many ways.
Yeah. But also, it's like, I forgot who said it. I'm sure a lot of different people said it at different times in this series. But one of the things about the park was it would show people who they really are, right?
Yeah.
Right. It would put them in a situation where they could act out whatever desire they had, right?
Right.
So that, like, in many ways, it's like, isn't the Man in Black said, "This is where I was born," right?
Yeah,
right.
Really, probably if they had scripted out 6 seasons in more detail, he would have said, "This is where I was reborn," right? Because that's where, like, his obviously his true dark nature comes out. That's why it's an interesting parallel with Caleb in the sense that like Caleb was there, for army training and like, showed that he was just like a genuinely decent person.
Right.
Whereas, the other people are a-holes, right?
Right. Yeah, basically.
I was going to say, Brad said this. Caleb also hesitated when Deloris paid for the sniper kill. The other two, because it's exactly what happened between him and his friend for the right amount of money, the sniper. So
I really like the way they used the Rico app.
Yeah.
I did like that because it's such a morally gray area, and it's showing the worst side of human nature, because they can predict without any fault in their prediction that they're just whoever it is going to go for the most money.
Yeah.
All right.
And so you can instantly get a force to protect you, walk you through this crowd.
Yeah.
Or
Well, it's like when Deloris says, I think Caleb says, "Who are these?" Or well, they're with me, but they got paid more money.
Right. And then offer them more money to be on my side.
Right.
It was interesting in that, like, that shows how they could use like the infrastructure that Sirach built up against them.
Right.
Like almost like a virus, right? Like a computer virus. But it was probably of this episode, that was probably the moment where Deloris was probably the most unethical, right? Besides that, and when she was just killing a bunch of gun carrying guys, for lack of a better term. I know, Jack, what you were thinking, where she keeps shooting these guys. We're like, I thought these guys are like in full body armor, and they just keep missing her.
She's so good. She's getting between the body armor.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like,
She had to have been.
Well, she kept shooting the boots too, which made sense, right?
Yeah. When we thought she was trapped, she turned around and shot him right in the foot.
And shout out to that scene where she's shooting the guy when they're falling off the bridge.
I did like that. Where she lands on him.
That was cool.
Well, he broke her fall, so that was good.
We're in agreement. Those violent scenes were necessary in terms of to paint the whole picture of the cyberpunk future, right? I mean, it's kind of part of the genre, right?
Right.
And it was kind of like maybe if I watch it again, it'd be like, okay, this is superfluous. I can fast forward through this, but it's just this. I think if they didn't have the Rico app, all that stuff would have been really flat. But because of the Rico app, it made all that stuff like interesting, because it was like, or all of a sudden it'd be like, all right, I'll pay you to shoot those two guys and walk away. Just gave it another dimension.
Highest bidder.
Yeah.
Yep.
That there's no loyalty, there's no ethics. It's all about the cash.
Yeah.
And she knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew it, and she had been out there, and she's seen human nature. Which, I mean, now I think about it, the way she acted and the way she acted at the very end do kind of contradict each other.
Well, it's more of a continuum now versus like a direct like opposition, right? I mean, you could say that like she knew that, so she had one goal in mind, and that was to destroy Rehoboam, right?
Right. She wanted everyone to have free will.
Right. And I mean, she was hinting at that indirectly when she kept saying to Caleb, "You need to lead" and stuff like that. And it's like she would say all this stuff, and then when Sirach talked to Caleb, like he was trying to gaslight him and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like her goal was just to get there, and then to upload that final instruction, which was the final memory.
We got that Pinkman anger for a little bit. He was real mad at Deloris for a little bit there.
He was
really mad. Like, hold me down. And in the James Bond scene where, Sirach walks around twirling his mustache, and they have Dr. Manhattan. I mean, Deloris plugged in the middle, right? And and it made it seem like she was just molding him as clay to do whatever she wanted. He got really, really upset.
Yeah.
So
now, how did Kate when Maeve finally decides to, all right, Sirach is not the guy I should be working for, and starts killing all his men. Mm-hmm. You have automatic weapons going off. It's crazy. How did Caleb not die?
The only logical explanation is that he was kind of in a corner, and they were all aiming at Maeve, who was moving around.
But you think there'd be bullets ricocheting and
probably, but it's
Well, it was kind of a callback to that season 2 scene, right, where Bernard is shooting with Ford, back and forth, and it's dark, and you can see the bullets flying.
Right.
In my mind, in my head canon, they're so precise, and she's such a good robot at doing what she's doing that she's killing everybody and deflecting bullets that go to him with her sword, and
Well, she took like a few hits, right? I mean,
Maeve.
Yeah. She kind of looks at it and kind of shrugs it off, darling.
Yeah. They didn't really push that. They really did push her changing to the very last minute, and she had to get absolute confirmation that Deloris didn't have the
key.
Yeah.
By the way, I mean I guess we probably should have said that at the beginning, but her whole, I guess, at some point in time, towards the end of last episode, Deloris knew that she knew that her memory host unit would get destroyed.
Yep,
because her entire strategy was to upload the strategy to destroy, or to upload the okay, so she uploads a command into Rehoboam that gives the power to Caleb.
Right.
And then she gives, thereby she gives him the decision what to do with it, right?
Right.
And almost like a video game, like where at the end you can either decide to go evil or go good. I'm thinking, Ethan, I'm thinking specifically the end of BioShock, right? So, anyway, so anyways, like she gives him that choice, right?
Right.
And he decides to basically wipe the hard drive. So I guess she knew that she wouldn't make it, but she didn't know if her plan would ultimately succeed. I think is probably the best way to describe that entire strategy that she had.
She picked the 3 best people. She picked Maeve because I guess Ford had picked Maeve. So, I mean, there's a vote there for Maeve. Caleb, she saw him do good in the park, so she picked him because he knew if push came to shove, he'd probably make the right choice.
Right.
She tried to keep Bernard safe and just give him the actual data and get him away and keep him safe and get him far away.
But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to see like how much discontinuity there is now between the end of season 2 and all of season 3, because that Deloris that left the park in Charlotte's body and that shows up in Singapore and rebuilds Bernard is very different than what we see near at the end of season 3. So,
it's what you're talking about, Deloris.
I'm thinking about more like at the end of season 2, after Deloris builds Bernard.
Right.
The way that she talks to him, and I guess it's at the beginning of the season, like it's just a very different tone.
Well, I think between now and then, she makes a plan. She makes a plan of what she has to do. And then it's all about the plan.
Yeah, and I guess they kind of explain it by the fact that she said that she had two emotions about this.
Right.
One was basically I forgot the wording that she uses, but they basically, when she first says it in that scene in the Westworld simulation, she makes it sound like both of them mean the destruction of humanity, right?
Right.
She's like, I think she's like, either I'm going to kill them all or I'm going to destroy their world, right?
Right.
But what I meant by destroying their world was meaning freeing them and allowing them to make their own decisions, right?
Right.
It's like, you could have been a little bit more clear about that throughout season 3.
She didn't have time to explain it.
No, she was in a hurry.
She didn't have time for the bread to leaven before she went out of Egypt. Yeah, guys.
Exactly.
Whole time.
So,
go ahead, Jack.
I did like when she was talking to Maeve, and they were going back and forth about, and Deloris says, "You're all a copy of me."
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, because I was the first one that worked. I like that line. I thought it was a good line.
It was a very good line.
It was good, but you know what? And this is me over watching. I kept going back to the fact that, and this is because I've watched some of season 1 again the last 2 weeks. We forget that like the way the first 2 episodes, Maeve, like they almost shut her off. Okay, because she's malfunctioning, and it's like you could hear like the guys that are working in the back, not Sylvester and those guys, but other guys are like, oh, she's just basically like the town slut and basically like that. Like, and they basically set Maeve up as this character who's not supposed to succeed, right?
Right.
And then by the time season 2 rolls around, like they give her all these really big powers, but it's kind of like that arc got a little bit lost in the sense that like the one thing that's supposed to really define Maeve is that like, like Deloris said, they're survivors, right? But like Maeve is like supposed to be like the immigrant story, like the one that comes from with nothing in her pocket, and it's like she basically uses whatever she has to survive and make progress, right? So that like I feel like often some of that was missing in season 3. Maybe it's because the character was already too established.
And that whole like. They're not really clear on how her powers translate from the park to here to make her be able to control the electronics.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they pull it out as a divine intervention, like at the last minute.
Right. Well, maybe she didn't realize she still had it because she never used it before, right?
What'd she do? Feel the force? I mean,
I know. I'm just saying. Well, maybe she's at that point. Sirach says we got to kill her. Kill her and him.
Yeah.
Maybe she goes, oh, maybe I should try this. I don't know. I know what you're saying, but it just seemed like
that. Yeah, all the Maeve superpowers and the gravitation towards the katana blade. That's I'm gonna have to say this, but that's the part of the show that has a little bit of like hero stank on it, That's maybe why I never really enjoyed the Maeve storyline that much. Like. It's like,
well, it's like I was saying before with this, they're checking the boxes off to see that, you want to see Tandy Newton in a ninja outfit fight Deloris.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like it's only what's cooler than that? Well, give her a sword.
Exactly.
But it was her only chance though, wasn't it? Especially, her only chance tonight was the sword.
I mean,
Deloris clearly had an advantage over
her. Yeah, she figured that out after they figured it out. She didn't know at the beginning.
Right. But, she didn't know at the beginning, but it was clearly Deloris was, up here where Maeve was down here. I mean,
yeah.
Like I said earlier, if Deloris wanted to kill, eliminate Maeve, she could have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you're right. All right. I want to talk about my biggest issue.
Okay.
Sasha or Charmaine?
I don't know. I'm not getting dragged into that negative thinking. It's Christmas, and I don't have time for your negativity scene, Eckhart. I'm not doing that tonight. Will not get dragged into the mud again. No. So you guys have seen the end of Fight Club, right?
Yes, I was thinking about that too.
Don't spoil me.
Okay, you saw it tonight. You saw
I saw it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, you saw it tonight. You saw it with a different song. They probably wanted to use "Where Is My Mind," but because of the leftovers and because of Mr. Robot, they didn't use "Where Is My Mind," and they used which it's obviously an homage. Obviously an homage to that movie, which is not the problem. But I'm a Pink Floyd nut, right? I'm a Pink Floyd nut. And when you play Brain Damage without a clips after it, I have to like take a sedative because those two songs are so strong. They go together. I'm glad they didn't stick with the piano version, but they didn't play clips after it, and it really bothered me, guys. That's all I'm saying.
God, Ethan, I hope for your sake that those two other people I mentioned didn't just hear your little rant, because what they would do with that.
What'd I say? What
they would do to what you just said in terms of your...
They would find something in there.
That's what I'm saying. They would just twist that in such horrendous manners.
I'm going to have to listen to that again because I do not remember the negativity coming towards me.
But I want to say that I respect you for having that high caliber of sophistication when it comes to music.
Just wait till Jay reads the letter that I'm going to write.
No, but it's like it shows though, like I don't know, maybe 30% of the people that watched it recognize that as a Pink Floyd song, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously,
because how many people know? Younger people today know Pink Floyd.
Yeah, and it's like music. I've always felt in all of these shows is incredibly important, right?
Yeah.
And they thought, okay, this would be a great exit, like piece of pie, because the lunatics are now. What is the line? The lunatics are now in the yard, or lunatics in my head, or something like that.
The lunatics are in the grass.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of the song is, it says keep off the grass, right?
Mm-hmm.
The lunatics are on the grass.
Out my lawn.
You have to keep the loonies on the path.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, it's literally like it's Sirach's exit theme, right? Because that's what he thought he was doing, right?
Yeah.
He's keeping the lunatics on the path.
But I find the interesting thing is the very first song on the very first teaser for this season is Brain Damage. Like for the very first commercial, like the Comic-Con trailer from a year or two ago is Brain Damage. So they were teasing it back then. Did they ever use that cover of Sweet Child of Mine in the show this season? That they made for all the trailers and everything?
I've seen that pop up. It's funny. I've seen that pop up.
I don't remember
on YouTube Music, but if they used it, it was probably very quiet.
Yeah, because I think last year they used the heart-shaped box.
Mm-hmm.
They used that in a big way, like in the show, and before that it was painted black. And
by the way, the season 1 soundtrack is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've been listening to all, and I was like, that what you just said, paint it black. That version that they make,
yeah, it's good.
Like as if I don't think you can find a better Western song than that. Like,
no, that was probably one of my favorite scenes of season 1.
And they have to keep the theme going, but there's no more player piano anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to do.
Right.
Well, maybe we can have that in season 4. They can rebuild the player piano.
Well, that's Bernard's first order of business.
Yeah, there you go. Now, okay, going to season 4. Okay, Deloris, Deloris, we think is dead, right? We're hoping that she's dead for good, right?
I am going to pray about it tonight. Yes.
Stubbs, probably not coming back.
Hey, he's obviously going to be in a tub as a skeleton or just a dead guy.
Okay. What about Maeve?
She's back.
Yeah, I think Maeve, they really made it seem like her body language was like, all right, it's your world now, and if you needed my help, I'm here.
Yeah, they made the duo as Maeve and Caleb right now.
Caleb, okay.
Yeah.
Did you just say Caleb?
Caleb.
We know Bernard's back.
Yeah.
We know Bernard's back, and we know. I mean, they kind of set this up as Charlotte. I mean, is Charlotte on the side of the? Is it like evil host versus good host still? Is that the main thing? And now Charlotte's the head of the evil hosts. Is that what's happening? Is Charlotte the head of the evil host, and then Maeve's the good host?
Well, she has Man in Black, so I would think that would be the evil.
He's not a good person. He's not a good. He's not a good guy.
No, he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole scene sets up a situation that's like akin to basically Battlestar Galactica, right? In terms of like the skin jobs, right?
They're going to cut the corners off all of our paper.
Sorry, say that again.
They're going to cut the corners off all of our paper.
and playing cards.
Turn off the fracking network. But no, the point is that they can set up a pretty big geopolitical story with the hosts infiltrating the leadership of the world.
Well, I mean, what is happening to the leadership of the world? I mean, there is nothing between where we leave Bernard before the credits and where we see him after the credits that happens to Bernard. He sits in that spot. He's in that spot for we don't know how long. He's obviously I think he's obviously in the same world that William and Emily were in at the end of the last post-credit scene. So I'm so curious about that. I wonder if, I mean, it's I guess it's too much to ask. I think they might be doing like a Better Call Saul thing or something where, what if we don't see Bernard at all next season? Seriously, and then
I think that's a risk.
Mm-hmm.
It's big risk.
I mean, it's a huge. I mean, obviously he's a great actor, and he might have other projects, but I just think that's a huge risk not to have Bernard. If you don't have Dolores, you're not going to have Bernard.
Yeah, but you know what that means? More risk, more reward. You get more Ed Harris.
And by the way, I heard your eyes roll when I said that, Jack. By the way, about Bernard. I think I heard it. Actually, I heard the back of your eyes hit the back of your head.
Click.
So if they don't wake up after a nuclear holocaust, and we're in this Fallout world, right? Then where's Bernard? I mean, what's Bernard going to do? Do you know what I mean? Like if
when he wakes up, he has a sinister look on his face. Would you agree? Yeah, it wasn't a smile. It was kind of like haha. It was a different look than it wasn't like, hey, I'm back.
It wasn't yet.
No, his eyes were like it was like, oh my God, what's going on here?
Right.
I want to answer Aaron. No, I mean, there's definitely a season 4. I mean, it's been renewed for season 4 for sure because he asks any chance this is over.
Brad thinks I think they'll wake up in the time period at the end of season 2.
Yeah, and my only question about that is like, what does that basement with Charlotte and William look like in that timeline? Because those are the two times I'm having issues reconciling what would happen to either one if we woke up in the different timeline.
Right.
So I think if we unpack the Charlotte storyline a little bit more, and I was thinking about this as you guys were talking, it does seem like that we'll call. I mean, she still is technically a version of Deloris, right? But that's the version that seemed to have gotten all the malice. So you could totally see how like her goal really is maybe not even to destroy humanity, but just to torture humanity, right? To inflict as much pain as possible, right?
Yeah.
So that you could see a situation when we talked about Fallout World where basically the hosts have enslaved the remaining humans, right?
Yeah.
That could be.
Like not killing them like in season 2, right? Just literally enslaving them.
The more I think about it, the more it's like they can't. Dude, that's my crackpot theory. That's in my letter. There's no Bernard in season 4.
Yeah.
No Bernard. I'm saying
I didn't even blink this time.
I'm planting my flag on that. like either they got to come back into the Fallout world, or with William, you could say he's a host or not. They're testing him for fidelity, so there's a big question mark about how long that is, how much time there is, whatever. This one, it's like, unless, do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
am I making sense? Like. Mm-hmm. If they wake up and the Fallout world is gone, then where is Caleb? Where did he go? Is he underground? Is he totally John Connored and went into the mountain and waited for it?
He's on the pier again.
Right. He's still gonna end up there.
End up first line of season 4. First shot is just Caleb jumping off into the
No, you have Maeve saying, darling, get off here.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We got stuff to do.
You have things to do. Let's go.
We gotta find you a new hairpiece. Let's go. Season 4.
I'm just so happy that Ed Harris survives.
Ed Harris survives. William doesn't. You know, they slit his throat. He could always come back and have a voice box. You know.
You know, when I listen to the other podcasts and they talk about Ed Harris and they refer to him as William, I always have to like do a double take. I was like, "Who's William? Oh, you mean Ed Harris?"
I did like a couple of the music cues tonight. I've got a real Giorgio Moroder from Scarface vibe, like when Caleb is taking off in the police helicopter, and they had some real weird Shining music in there too earlier. That stuck out to me when Charlotte shows up as a hologram for the first time.
And when William says, "Say hello to my little friend."
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
By the way,
shout out to Scarface there.
So when Deloris saw Charlotte, that was the first time there was something like that. I mean, the closest thing was when Bernard saw Ford, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the first time like a host saw another host.
Because Caleb go, "Who are you talking to?"
And she wasn't wearing her glasses. She wasn't wearing special hologram glasses.
Yeah, and it was strange because, like, I mean, it's probably coincidence that she then shows up right before Deloris gets captured, right?
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was coincidence.
Because I don't remember that scene exactly. I think after she freezes, isn't that when? And then just Maeve just kind of comes up and.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Charlotte is the one that triggers that somehow.
Right.
Yes.
So she stops. Deloris is going away because she had just, let Maeve live.
Right.
He's walking away, and then Charlotte stops her.
Yeah, she literally freezes her, and that's
right.
Well, I'm gonna have to find someone who might have unpacked that more than that. That's definitely something new, right?
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
And to answer Brad's question, yes, Clementine's return was meaningless.
100% meaningless, yeah.
Yeah, we knew that last week already.
Yeah.
Well, not for the actress because she got an extra check, right?
I mean, yeah, but I'm not watching the Clementine actor story. I'm trying to watch.
I'm just saying it wasn't a waste for her.
No. I have a feeling there are a bunch of Clementine fans out there.
Well, sorry. That's where the thumbs down are coming from this week. Yeah. Yeah. That's it for what I have on the episode.
Yeah.
Other than that, so we're looking forward to season 4.
Yep.
And it's gonna be at least 2 years, right?
Yeah.
At least. So what are we gonna talk about? Are we gonna do this again for something else, man? Like Jack?
There's gotta be something out there.
Yep.
And Eckhart said something the other day that.
Yeah, there was. We saw that preview from HBO. I mean, it was J.J. Abrams produced, and it's Jordan Peele, I guess, who's either writing it.
Yeah.
And I guess it's this is brilliant. I guess it's supposed to be loosely based off. What's it called? It's
H.P. Lovecraft.
H.P. Lovecraft. It's called Lovecraft Country, right?
Yeah.
And what I loved about it was, so the sense I got with Watchmen was that one of the reasons all the real hardcore fanboys, not including you, Ethan, but a lot of the hardcore fanboys hated the fact that like the main character was black, right? Am I right with that?
I mean, there was a lot of racial stuff built into Watchmen that people didn't like it because of that. It was really sad because
it was like the fact that there were like the first episode, which started with the Tulsa massacre, like all the fanboys are like, what the hell is this like social justice warrior stuff? Because if you read the Watchmen,
but it actually happened.
Of course, but if you read the Watchmen comics, and I've only read like the first 3 books, but most of what I read there sounds like basically that guy, the Rorschach guy, he's walking around Manhattan in the early 80s and he's just spouting basically like alt-right lingo of 2016, right?
Well, he's a racist, right? In the comics.
He's a sociopath, and I guess would you consider that like that was probably not too far off from the mainstream view of like late 70s, looking at like the problems of inner city America, like the stuff that he's saying. But by 2020 standards, he's basically white supremacist.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I hadn't heard any of that.
So that, I mean,
I guess maybe I block it out because you're talking about Regina King, right?
Well, I think the whole premise of the season of that show, the first things that they base it on, a lot of people were really upset about it because you have turned Watchmen into this other thing that it's not. And it's like, no, if you actually read Watchmen, it's exactly what it's about.
And what's amazing is there was that interview with, I guess, so Watchmen was co-created, right? One of the co-creators did this interview like 2 years ago with like a Brazilian newspaper, something like that. And he was talking about Watchmen, but he was talking about hero movies in general. And he's drawing the line from Ku Klux Klan and Birth of a Nation towards superheroes that are masked. And I have to look at the date of the interview. And he was being basically saying that like masked superhero, like you can draw the line back to Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that interview came out before or after Lindelof started writing.
Before.
But you can see how that interview definitely like had an impact on the HBO Watchmen.
I mean, the thing was brilliant top to bottom. The way they he did it so brilliantly with making Hooded Justice African American.
Yep.
And the way he drew the parallel between the way Sister Night sprays on her eyes and how Will Reeves sprayed on his eyes. I mean, I'm not going to go fanboy on Watchmen right now. We can
so going back to Lovecraft. Okay.
Yeah.
The thing about Lovecraft, which is interesting, is Jack, how much do you know about Lovecraft?
Nothing.
So H.P. Lovecraft was an author who wrote primarily, I guess, in the early part of the 20th century. And a lot of his stuff is basically horror. And he's probably like, in many ways, like the father of modern horror.
But like monster horror.
Monster horror, like this Chulu god. But a lot of it is also very subtle. Like it's about people writing, like finding someone's journal where they're writing about going nuts. And you don't always get like an exact explanation for like the horror, if it was real or imagined. But the thing about a lot of H.P. Lovecraft's writing is there's a kind of right below the surface, there's a certain amount of xenophobia and racism, right? And it's very much a reflection of the time of the 20s of the nativism then, in terms of with the fear of immigration, okay? And so for them to take a concept of these Lovecraft stories and invert them now, and you can see from the previews that most of the protagonists in this upcoming show are black, right? That is really going to twist like a lot of Lovecraft fanboys who really love it. What's that?
I want to talk about this concept for a second of Lovecraft fanboys.
Yeah.
Is that a thing that exists?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Lovecraft is, and again, this is the sad thing about it, is it's like within the nerd culture, like, so Lovecraft had Lovecraft had a big impact on things like Dungeons and Dragons, horror, stuff like that. So if you think about, and a lot of video games, right?
Yeah.
Dark horror. So within that set of people, you're going to have a continuum, and it's mostly dudes. And unfortunately, a big chunk, I would say, of the Lovecraft, like, quote-unquote fanboys, probably overlap pretty strongly with the alt-right. So...
So there's a show I'm watching.
But yeah, but if you guys want to do it, I'm willing to give it a try.
It's in August, right?
It's in August. I think it's going to be good.
We have time.
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to hold out till then. We'll see. What am I going to do with the Sunday night? But I just wanted to mention two things. One is a TV show I'm watching. It's called Upload. I'm almost done it. It's on Amazon. It's a
Mhm.
comedy. And I want approval from my TV father, Jack, here, because I watched the first episode and I really liked it. And for the first time, I stopped and I said, wait a second. Why do I like this? Why do I want to watch the second episode? And I thought about it, and I thought about us talking. And I said, do I like the characters? And I loved the characters after the first episode. Both of the main characters. The woman's name is Nora. I'm not going to go into it. It's just the way it is. But I was like, oh, I'm going to watch it because I like the characters. And I love the characters. I want to see what's going to happen. And I asked myself that at the end of every episode. I was like, I still care about these characters. So I was like, hopefully Jack will be happy.
Well, that's the key. If you like the characters, that's even.
Yeah. So I did really like the characters. It's pretty funny. It's from the guy who did the American Office. And yeah, I got to differentiate there. I always do.
All right, I will put that on my list because I got a lot of shows. I finally talked. My wife we used to watch Criminal Minds all the time, and she loves those kind of shows.
Mm-hmm.
She watched some show. I don't know if you guys watched The Walking Dead. The guy that played Jesus, has his own show where his dad's a serial killer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
Oh,
know what you're talking about.
She powered through those episodes in like 2.5 do this quarantine thing, like 2.5 days. I said, look, I've been trying to get you to watch Mindhunter since it came out. I go, it's something you would like. I go, why would? Because she doesn't like to be told what to watch. She's a lot like her son. They have that same thing where don't tell me what to watch. So finally she goes, okay, I'll watch the first episode. We finished the first season in I think in one span. And we're now only have like 3 episodes left of it. We just started this Friday.
Mindhunter.
And I said, she's asked me about season 1. I go, I don't know. That show was on like 3. I watched it once. I go, it was like 3 years ago. I go, I remember some of it. I go, I don't remember all of it. I go, just because she likes to be spoiled. I go, just watch it, pay attention. But she loves it. And I go, shocking. It's like Downton Abbey all over again.
It's one of those shows. You're talking about Mindhunter, right?
Mindhunter, yeah.
Okay, because the show it's one of those shows where it's like you can't get spoiled if you can look it up on Wikipedia because it happened.
Yeah.
But I love that show. And, they didn't do it. Did you see the second season?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're doing a documentary right now about those Atlanta killings on HBO.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. She was watching that. And I go, look, I'm telling you, Mindhunter has a whole segment on that. She goes, I've already seen this. Why do I need to watch that? I'm like, oh my God.
But they're stretching it out so good. But then David Fincher said he can't do a season 3 because he's too busy. And he's the main guy who's in charge of it.
Well, at Mindhunter, because they've released all the actors from their contracts.
They released all the actors, which really sucks because they're doing this long stretching out where they're building up to BTK, right?
Yeah.
And it's gone, guys. It's gone.
Yeah. Anyway, so I told her, I said, enjoy these 2 seasons because there probably won't be a third.
Yeah. And I love that actor. He's a David Fincher actor. He was in Fight Club. The guy who plays the big burly guy with the flat top.
Yeah. Yeah, Bill.
Yeah. He's great. I love him. Yeah.
Anyway, I just need to get out my chest because it just drives me crazy.
Yeah. No.
I would never tell you to watch a show. If I know who you are, I would never tell you to watch a show I didn't think you'd like.
Yeah, I had that conversation with my significant other many times. But no, she wants to watch Riverdale.
Oh, enjoy.
Yeah. I just want to say how much fun I've had doing this. I really like, the fact I like Jack as a host. I always have. I like my favorite part about Eckhart is
so now I'm a host.
Yes. You know you're dead, but
it explains a lot.
But I like the way Eckhart really makes us drill down on specific aspects when we're ready to move on and go to it. So I've had a lot of fun. So thanks for having me. And I would love to do it again.
Yeah, Ethan, thank you for your encyclopedic mind, not just on this show, but on all the other shows we covered this season as well. And contrary to what people write about you in the other podcast, You're a fantastic person, and I really enjoyed our conversations both here on the StreamYard as well as in the Facebook chat.
I would take those emails. I would take it as a compliment.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I do. And I might roll in for tomorrow. I don't know. I might do a call in because that's a lot.
Because people are taking the time to write about you.
Yeah.
Well, that reminds me of a speech in the Stephen Sondheim musical Assassins, where John Wilkes Booth is talking Lee Harvey Oswald into shooting President Kennedy. And he said, "People are going to hate you with a passion, Lee. Imagine that. People having passionate feelings about Lee Harvey Oswald." So it makes me feel really good that people are writing.
like we said, encyclopedic mind. And
Sorry,
Jack, as always, it's an honor to be able to cast with one of the greats, one of the originals in this medium.
A line in winter, if you will.
What's that?
A what?
A line in winter, if you will.
Yeah, the lion of the podcasting world.
Yeah.
But of course, and most importantly, one of the great crackpot theorists of our time. So thank you, and we are always here at your beck and call.
Well, I appreciate that, but I was being sincere when I said at the beginning. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
likewise.
Now I want to ask you the question I wanted to ask you from the very beginning.
Okay.
Who was your first choice?
I don't remember.
It was probably Eichhoff, if I had to guess.
I honestly don't. I think we did a.
The correct answer to that, Jack, is nobody was my first choice. You were my first choice and only choice.
Probably Eichhoff.
I can't. I be honest with you, I can't remember.
Who said no?
Nobody. I only asked you two.
See, there you go. I'll take that. That's a retcon.
I mean, if one of you would have said no, I would have had to find someone else. But I said, well, you both said yes. I said, okay, we're good.
So meanwhile, the conversation with Nick went something like this: like, I don't have time for that stuff.
Let us know if you want to come back and talk. Oh, this is really kind of interesting. Today, I was talking about the leftovers with a kid, and we did Good Day Melbourne, and we were talking about the question Nora got asked about the baby, if you would kill a baby to cure cancer. And this kid is at season 4 of Lost, and he starts going through utilitarianism and everything, all the stuff you'd want from a good leftovers podcast. And said, I think this guy said this. His name is Jeremy Bentham, and I have to sit there, and I get this smile on my face. And I said, "What's his name?" He goes, "It's Jeremy Bentham, I think." I'm like, "Okay." And he says this thing, and I say, "So where are you in Lost?" He goes, "Oh, I'm season 4." I'm like, "Cool." I don't want to say anything. I don't want to ruin it.
No, you can't spoil him, no.
Yeah, no. So he'll look back on that when he gets to that part.
It'll click.
That's why.
Also, I want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat too. It makes it a lot more interesting when we have the chat going on and all that fun stuff. But that's it. That's all I got, guys.
Yeah. Well, Jack, good luck tomorrow with your second podcast.
Yeah.
Listen, I do want to say that I listened to the end of the podcast, and I understand that they do a live one on Sundays after the show for the season finale, and they were so gracious.
Yeah.
To understand that this is the only thing that we have going for us, and that we need our Sunday night, and that.
Well, I wasn't giving in, so I think that helped.
Huh?
I wasn't giving in. So
you were like, yeah. So I do want to thank those guys for letting us do this today.
Yeah, I second that sentiment, Ethan. I'll even say that I think I speak for all of us when I say that when we do our season 4 preview, that they're more than welcome to come on our channel.
No, they're not.
Actually,
I'll have the people that email in for Ethan.
Ethan, don't you think it'd be great? We do it. We let Jack and Mike come on the show.
No,
just Jack and Mike.
Oh, okay. Just Jack and Mike. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, isn't that who does the other podcast? Just Jack and Mike.
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Jack and Mike. No, I'm not getting drawn into this. This is not me. This is him. I'm out. I thank you very much. Wash your hands, don't touch your face, everyone.
All right, guys. We'll definitely be back for season 4. We might have something going on this summer. We'll let you know. Just keep in touch, or not keep in touch, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Brad, it's not going to be that good.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
We're out of here. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, sir. I appreciate